Meta is struggling more than any other Mag 7. It's been stuck in a bounce range with a gap above it and a gap below it. So I only see two ways, well, really four ways to trade Meta. One, we get a higher low into the gap above, and we target at least some type of partial gap fill. We do need to watch out that the daily 20 SMA, the daily 50 SMA are both right above us and could get in the way of that. Two, it looks into the gap above us and fails, comes back in, gives a lower high back below the gap, at which point I would be thinking of rotating back to the other end of the bounce range, as has already happened before. Three, we get a lower high below the bottom of the bounce range, 601.80, come in, target the top of the gap down below. Also, if we just go into the gap below with a lower high into it, then we would be looking to fill that gap. Finally, if we look below this bounce range, come back in, fail, lower, higher low, back inside the bounce range, then once again, we should rotate to the top of the bounce range. Microsoft hasn't been struggling quite as much as Meta and is currently above both the 50 and 20 daily SMAs, and kind of looks like we have a bull flag going on, but the price action's still not great on Microsoft. The only trade I'd be waiting to play out at this point is just some higher low above 430.50, which is an open gap, to target the gap close up at 442.75. Otherwise, lower highs below 412 could bring back in 401 again. That's it when it comes to Microsoft right now. Apple is on a nice uptrend with new, fresh, all-time highs. The way I'd be looking at it is if we can just sweep this level at $300.15, just look above below it and fail, come back in with a higher low, then we should rotate back to all-time highs. The other trade I'd be interested in taking on Apple is just a higher low above the all-time high to continue the uptrend. Apple does pull back to 294.80. That would also be okay for a pullback if you can get some type of setup where you're clearly seeing buyers step in to come back in and target the all-time high. I would want Apple to hold 288.65. Otherwise, I would probably avoid it. The first thing to notice about Google is while everything else was selling off Friday, what was Google doing? It was holding its highs. So I think that shows that Google has really nice relative strength. That in mind, I would be looking for any higher lows above $400.15 to come up and target the overnight all-time high of 406.40, if not further. Pullbacks down here to 386.35 are fine. The only time I would start to think that Google is in trouble is if price gets below 380.70 and there's a lower high below. I would think about targeting the top of the gap below, down at 365.75. Amazon closed below the daily 20 SMA on Friday. It did also gap down Friday, leaving that gap open. That does show that there's some type of seller strength on Amazon, but it's still very bullish, still trading near the highs in my opinion. So as long as Amazon can hold 257.85, I would think that's the ideal location for a higher low on the daily chart. So I'd be looking for buyers to step it up there if it does get to that level. Otherwise, any pops into the little small gap that we left behind on Friday, I would think that gap comes in and closes. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and check out our YouTube for trade ideas, trade plans, and market actionable insights you will not want to miss.